Ragebait is everywhere, and it's quietly destroying how we're speaking to each other. Every doom scroll session, every video, every hot take is designed to make us angry. But what if I told you it's not just affecting clicks or views, it's affecting the way we feel, communicate, and view the world as a whole? Ragebait works because anger spreads faster than anything else, especially online. This is because we are wired to be emotionally motivated towards action. Algorithms don't care about truth. They only care about engagement. And the fastest way to get that engagement is to keep us in our emotions. And unfortunately, even further, negative emotions are way more likely to actually motivate us to engage. I honestly believe that in the content creator space, most of this is not intentional. But over time, larger creators and especially the mainstream media seem to be catering more and more to Ragebait. Because at the end of the day, it pays their bills and brings their goals a little bit closer. But here's part of the cost. Constant outrage at what's going on in the world leads to emotional exhaustion. We start doom scrolling, waiting for the next thing to be angry about. And before long, we're drained. And then, of course, on top of that, we're anxious for some unknown reason. Our brains aren't built for that much emotional chaos. So our brains shut down and empathy becomes more and more difficult to feel. Empathy is an incredibly powerful ability and one that seems to be fading away more and more from society as a whole. Seeing things from another person's perspective and trying your best to feel from where they're coming from is what creates peace. Empathy returning combined with tolerance, I believe, would start to reunite the world as a whole. But Ragebait thrives on black and white thinking. It completely removes the very wide gray areas that we can disagree in peacefully. It simplifies every nuanced and complex issue into good and bad and us versus them. But real life isn't that simple, and I think many of us know this. I recently had an experience listening to some friends chatting with each other while working the other day. In this conversation, throughout it, at the very beginning, they were laughing and having an incredibly good time, it seemed. And then for whatever reason, one of them decided to bring up politics. Instead of continuing with the baseline that they were friends, the mood seemed to entirely shift. It seemed like they were legitimately pulling up an entire friendship over a political disagreement. Both sides were actually trying to explain to each other that they don't fully align with either party, which is obviously way more common than anyone wants to admit. And then, as they were starting to really heat things up, one of them pointed out that their politics shouldn't really matter all that much. And I imagine this sounds like some stupid story just to prove my point. But if we open our eyes to the world around us, we will begin to see this happening more and more. Because when nuance disappears, dialogue does too. Because nobody's actually listening, we're just reacting. To top this off, algorithms learn what makes us angry and feeds us more of it. Soon, that feed becomes an echo chamber of only one side of the argument on everything in life. It validates our own perspectives while simultaneously demonizing everyone else's. It starts to feel like the other side is insane with no sense of morality. But in all reality, they're probably experiencing the same thing just from the other side of the spectrum. That isolation builds division, but not because we're that different. Instead, I believe it's because we're fed reasons to think we are that different. Many people know that I lean conservatively, and I've publicly admitted that I voted for Trump. Immediately, I, as well as many others who did the same, get a few labels slapped onto us. The most common by far is being labeled a Nazi. What never happens in those conversations is an openness to nuance. It's as if by voting for him, we agree with everything that he has said and done. I can guarantee you that folks who voted for our prior president did not agree with everything he said and did. But that's what echo chambers do. They convince us of what the other side is thinking without ever allowing for them to explain. When all this outrage becomes normal, so does cruelty. You stop seeing people online as people. Instead, they become profile pictures, usernames, and ultimately, unfortunately, targets. It becomes easy to justify harassment online because they deserved it. People don't deserve to be harassed for the way that they think. I see this in the Overwatch space constantly, and it's usually towards conservatives. Obviously, Overwatch's community is predominantly liberal-leaning. I think we can all agree on that. However, you won't catch me harassing my fellow creators just because we have disagreements on certain topics. Because at the end of the day, that's not helpful, it's dehumanizing. And it's something that none of us should ever get comfortable with. Just because you don't know someone personally doesn't mean there aren't real-life consequences to what you do. Addressing something quickly that's not toxic is my Patreon, where we're actually trying to build a community that is the antithesis of everything that's going on in culture right now. If that sounds like something you'd want to support, you can check the link in the description. Anyway, Ragebait doesn't care if something is true, only if it's emotional. Intentionally misleading edits and flat-out lies always take off, all before someone bothers to check the facts. And by the time the corrections roll out, it's too late. The rage bait has already taken its course. That's because more and more we allow our emotions to dictate truth. Truth as a concept is supposed to be objective, not subject to our emotions. This is why facts and fact-checking need to become more and more common, especially in today's day and age, where misleading edits have nothing on AI. AI can create without any person's permission a full statement that they could probably completely disagree with, all allegedly done by them, and without fact-checking, it's very easy to believe. Fact-checking is also so much easier now than it ever was with the double-edged sword of AI. I recently did some research trying to understand why the US government is shut down, because both sides are pointing fingers at each other, and ultimately I don't believe either side is fully at fault, so I wanted to develop my own understanding. Using ChatGPT, I was able to identify that there was in fact one side that was the problem here, and that was after looking at all the facts involved. Not doing simple fact-checking is how misinformation spreads. That is through conspiracy that is validated by emotions. When everything online feels like bait, we start distrusting everything and everyone. We assume the worst intentions even with people we agree with. That skepticism quickly seeps into our friendships and communities. When trust dies, honest conversation dies with it. The reality is we are seeing less and less honest conversation these days. I don't think I need to explain the recent events. Don't get me wrong, discussing controversial topics has always been hard. It just seems like these days it's harder due to things like rage bait. We're mentally used to being exposed to constant outrage. It's kind of what we expect at this point. And that expectation breeds more and more division into the world around us. Let's be honest, do we really need more division? But that constant exposure to outrage doesn't just affect your mood, it completely rewires your brain. It raises stress hormones and makes calm conversations feel like a foreign concept. It also messes heavily with our sleep patterns, which is underrated because you become generally more irritable at that point. Your mind starts to associate being online with being under attack. Even the toughest minds out there can't withstand being constantly under attack forever. It's exhausting and it follows you even once you log off or disconnect from it all. As an example, many of us follow people on social media that we look up to. For me, one of those people is Scotty K Fitness. Recently, he shared a video taking his brother Wesley food shopping. Wesley is on a food assistance program in the US called SNAP, but with the government currently being shut down, SNAP benefits are on pause. Without Scotty, Wesley would likely be experiencing hunger at an extreme rate. The amount of people that, because Scotty decided to help him, tagged him politically as something he isn't, is insane. He never made any insinuations of political alignment or even blaming one party or the other, but people still looked for it. It's really sad, but that's the mental state of all of our health, it seems like right now. But here's the worst part about all of this. Rage bait simply works. It rewards people and organizations with clicks, follows, and money. These are all things that people have always wanted at our core. Fame, recognition, and building up a pile of wealth that allows you to have anything you want in life just because you want it. Rage bait working means that creators and mainstream media will likely continue using it, even at the cost of society and culture in the long term. Until we stop rewarding outrage, the cycle will not end. To stop rewarding that outrage requires action on each of our parts. It is not easy, but it is relatively simple. It may sound a little cliche, but before we share something or engage with something that we're frustrated by or angry with, take a deep breath. We should ask ourselves, is this going to help or is this going to feed the problem? Another thing we can do, I think, is support creators who value honesty and transparency. It may not be always the most exciting content, but it is grounded in reality. The more we stop fueling the artificial outrage machine, the quieter it gets. By the way, I know how I've sounded for the last little bit. It's a little Hallmark Channel-esque, but I want you to understand I truly believe what I'm saying. It goes back to the concept of being the change that you wish to see in the world. It really does start with the small things like I've described. You can take it a step further if you want. Hold the door open for somebody at a store, pick up some trash on the sidewalk, and if you really want to go all out, compliment someone's appearance. These seemingly small acts, when amplified, have the ability to change the world, and I firmly believe that. If this video helped you see rage bait in a new light, you should check out the video on your screen right now that digs into another important subject. In it, I talked about AI art and AI's potential impact on the world as we move forward.